unfold, this Russian invasion. They're watching it in horror as they wait for word about the whereabouts of their loved ones still living in Ukraine. Pavlo Bandriwsky is one of those Americans. He's the vice president of the Illinois division of the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Pavlo, thank you so much for being here. Tell us about your family and friends in Ukraine. Have they managed to get out? Have you heard from them?
Sure. Alisyn and Victor, thanks for having me on. We have been in touch with a number of our family members. Right now, they are settled down and they want to stay. We've tried to get our nieces to come over with their children. At this point, their husbands have been activated. They're fighting in the war, and they're waiting to see how much further this develops before they leave. People don't want to leave Ukraine, but they're being forced to leave because indiscriminate terror is happening across the country.
And you say they want to stay because their loved ones are there. Are they also, we've seen some relatives support by building nets, creating nets as well. What are they doing to support that?
There's a lot of civil resistance going on. They have been training in self-defense to protect their homes. They are doing a number of clandestine activities in order to thwart the invaders. They have taken up arms and they are prepared to defend their house, their street, their neighborhoods, and do everything that they possibly can. This is a classic case of David versus Goliath, and that's why the West's help on this is so critically important at this time.
So let's talk about that, because Pavlo, I know that you've been organizing these rallies here in the U.S. And so what's the point of that? To just raise awareness?
Well, when we had 5,000 people come out last week, it was to raise awareness. When we had over 7,000 people come out yesterday, it was more than that. We want our American legislators, President Biden, our senators and congressmen, to show some strong political will to close the skies over Ukraine, stop the slaughter of humanity, stop the genocide that is happening before our eyes. We understand all the political ramifications of this, but at the very least, we have to have a humanitarian corridor where people can safely move. And we have seen Russians with their deceptive lies going back to Ilovaisk, where they had soldiers lay down their arms and then slaughtered them. We have seen situations where they declared ceasefires and then started to shell on citizens that were looking to evacuate. So we need to have the sky corridor protected, at least from Kyiv to Poland. That border, that strip of territory must be protected from above, and let the women and children escape.
Pavlo, you said that the West should close the skies, this no-fly zone, and you said there would be political ramifications. Beyond political ramifications, that would put the U.S. military in direct conflict, very likely and very quickly, with the Russian military, and there could start a world war in defending itself against Russia. So you say to the politicians, to the president, to the Secretary General of NATO, who says that's off the table, you say what?
I say America stood by and the West stood by while Hitler slaughtered millions. Finally got into the war, and then by that time, horrible murders had been committed. Let's not repeat that. Let's learn from history. We have an authoritarian dictator that is on par with total disregard for human life. I don't see, and no rational individual could ever see, a Western leader sitting down at a table with Vladimir Putin. This is a dictator who's totally unhinged. What he has done is beyond the pale. Yeah. To send mobile crematoriums along with tanks and soldiers to invade Ukraine so they could burn their own soldiers on the spot and dump their ashes, so their mothers cannot bury these poor kids. It's just awful. And I say to our politicians, we cannot ignore what's going on. We have to step up. We have to have humanitarian corridors that are protected by the West.
And we know
Russia,
that that
I
was
noticed-
something that was discussed today, not protected by the West, but these humanitarian corridors negotiated between Russia and Ukraine. We'll see if that actually happens. Pavlo Bandriwsky, thank you so much. And for more information about